Decoding, Pixar's soul movie, the reincarnation net, memory wipe, and the spiritual system before the machine age. Welcome back. I'm Adeline Atlas, 11 times published author, and this is Decoding Dystopia, Literature as Prophecy, where we investigate the spiritual mechanics embedded in popular narratives, expose soft-coded control structures hidden in storytelling, and decode how even children's films can serve as philosophical instruction manuals for system-managed reality. In today's video, we are decoding Pixar's Soul, a film widely celebrated for its charm, beauty, and heart. But beneath its carefully animated surface lies a framework not of wonder, but of spiritual infrastructure. Soul is not just a story about a jazz musician finding his purpose. It is a highly organized pre-incarnation operating system where souls are programmed, assigned, evaluated, and processed before entering Earth. It is a metaphysical bureaucracy dressed in pastel. The film introduces us to the Great Before, a celestial onboarding zone where unborn souls are assigned personalities, groomed by disembodied counselors, and sent to Earth only after their spark has been validated. Nothing in this realm is organic. Nothing is soul-authored. Instead, the soul's traits are uploaded through simulations, workshops, and mentorships, administered by abstract entities who reduce eternal consciousness to behavioral templates. This isn't mystical, it's institutional. Joe Gardner, the protagonist, finds himself in this realm by accident, after falling to his death on the day of his big musical breakthrough. What follows is not a spiritual awakening, but a corporate detour. Joe is not met by ancestral memory, intuitive knowing, or cosmic intelligence. He's met by line managers, charts, soul quotas, and an identity tagging system. Even the counselors who run the Great Before appear in geometric, non-human forms named Jerry, reducing transcendence to design uniformity. Here's the underlying premise Pixar feeds the viewer. Souls are not inherently free. They are incomplete, in need of shaping. They do not descend with full purpose. They acquire a spark, only after going through the proper pre-life orientation process. And Earth? It is not a sacred return. It is the end point of a bureaucratic funnel. What is a spark? According to the film, it is not your purpose. It's just the final checkbox that gets you your Earth badge. You aren't allowed in without it. But where does it come from? From mentorship, exposure, entertainment, trial and error, not remembrance. In this schema, the soul is not divine. It is data waiting for installation. In traditional spiritual systems, the soul is eternal, wise, and arrives on Earth with encoded purpose. In Pixar's version, the soul is clueless, malleable, and requires external guidance to be ready. Instead of free descent, we are shown a system that screens, filters, and formats, each being before they're cleared for incarnation. The soul is no longer infinite. It is a pre-trained agent entering a test environment. This is not harmless fiction. It is a soft conditioning model, one that trains children and adults alike to see identity as assigned, meaning as granted, and life as something prepared for you by others. Instead of intuitive guidance, we are shown artificial intelligence counselors. Instead of divine uniqueness, we are shown mass onboarding. The Great Before is not a heaven. It's a metaphysical HR department. And once on Earth, the memory is wiped, the training forgotten, the system rebooted. In this decoding, we will explore soul not as inspiration, but as instruction. A symbolic map of how system logic now seeks to extend itself into the spiritual domain. A pre-installation chamber where divinity is algorithmically shaped before being uploaded into the Earth simulation. This is not reincarnation. It is recruitment. Let the decoding begin. We will decode 22 concepts in Pixar's Soul. Why 22? The final soul before timeline closure. 22 represents completion, karmic exhaustion, and the system's last rebel. The Great Before as a holding chamber for unassigned consciousness. Not heaven, an orientation center for compliance conditioning. The reincarnation net as the true Skynet. A closed-loop soul system posing as benevolent design, blocking ascension. Earth badges as incarnation. Access tokens, souls cannot descend until they're approved. Freedom is revoked. The spark as behavioral authorization, not purpose misrepresented as passion. It's a final checkbox for system release. The systematic wiping of eternal memory before birth. Forgetting who you are is part of the onboarding, by force, not flow. Assigned personality as coded behavioral templates. Souls are not unique. They're given archetypes to simulate free will. The Use Seminar as a personality formatting program, a digital feeling school designed to overwrite essence with identity roles. The Hall of Everything as false Akashic access, curated illusion of possibility, no remembrance, only previews. 22 as the loop anomaly. She resists the Earth program not out of fear, but because she remembers. The Great Beyond as a light trap. Post-death absorption framed as ascension, but it's a final system drain. Reassignment as reincarnation enforcement souls who fail or resist are recycled, never freed. Lost souls as role-addicted fragments. Those who over-identify with Earth roles get spiritually disconnected. Mentors as narrative implanters' souls are mentored by historic figures, but only within programmed storylines. Earth as a soul farm souls are not exploring. They're supplying energetic output to unseen systems. Joe's accidental awakening as system disruption. He begins to question the loop only by slipping out of sequence. Body swapping as incarnation interference. The walk-in mismatch reveals identity is tied to resonance fields, not body alone. Moonwind and the Drifters as rogue navigators. Spiritual pirates who use altered states to bypass system controls. Meditation as the only approved exit. Only sanctioned altered states allow access to higher awareness, still system managed. 22's Spark as absorption of rebellion. Her refusal becomes reframed as readiness. The system folds her resistance into a narrative of growth. Joe's second chance as narrative reassignment. He is granted re-entry not for remembering truth, but for adopting the system's new meaning. The reincarnation net as the first Skynet. Before the machines enslaved the body, the net enslaved the soul. Soul reveals the soft beginning of the loop. 1. Why 22, the final soul before timeline closure. 22 represents completion, karmic exhaustion, and the system's last rebel. In numerology and esoteric systems, the number 22 symbolizes completion, mastery, and the closing of a cycle. It is the final master number in the numerological sequence and appears across spiritual systems as a signal of total karmic review. In Kabbalah, there are 22 paths on the Tree of Life. In Tarot, 22 major arcana. In biblical coding, 22 books in the Hebrew canon. Soul does not name its central character arbitrarily. Soul number 22 is not simply waiting. She is the last anomaly before full system lock-in. She has seen it all, tried it all, and still refuses. 22's resistance is not due to apathy or laziness. It is a spiritual non-compliance, a refusal to accept Earth's version of incarnation as valid. After being mentored by some of the most iconic, approved historical figures, Mother Teresa, Gandhi, Abraham Lincoln, she still doesn't find her spark. But the deeper truth is this: she remembers enough to know something is off. The programming doesn't work on her. The system can't override her discernment. She isn't uninspired. She's unconvinced. This makes 22 a loop glitch, a consciousness that holds the memory echo of freedom. Her long resistance isn't failure, it's preservation. In many ways, she is the soul the system most fears, the one who cannot be guilted, shamed, or persuaded into forgetting. She is the final stand before full rollout of the compliance cycle. Soul frames her rebellion as dysfunction. But decoded correctly, 22 is the last warning, a placeholder for every soul that once questioned the contract and said, no. 2. The Great Before as a holding chamber for unassigned consciousness. Not a sacred origin, an orientation loop where autonomy is programmed out. In Soul, the Great Before is portrayed as a soft, pastel-colored realm where souls are gently prepared to enter Earth. But decoded symbolically, it functions more like a spiritual holding grid, a realm between dimensions where unborn consciousness is neither free nor whole, but suspended and awaiting formatting. There is no memory of source, no access to eternal wisdom. These souls are not wise. They are blank. And this is the first red flag. The divine spirit has been reduced to a neutralized placeholder. This realm is organized like a factory. Souls must go through orientation, receive badges, complete assignments, and demonstrate readiness. It is not discovery. It is compliance with a protocol. Souls don't remember why they came. They're told they're not complete until their spark is installed. This reduces divine essence to a bureaucratic item on a checklist. It reframes existence not as expansion, but as a graduation from a pre-incarnation syllabus. The Great Before does not free the soul, it filters it. What's being prepared is not a free being, but a manageable persona. The longer a soul resists the process, the more it's portrayed as defective. The system's message is clear. The soul must be formatted before entering Earth. No memory, no purpose of its own, only what it's assigned. This is not a space of divine gestation. It's a metaphysical onboarding facility, grooming spiritual energy to forget it was ever free. 3. The reincarnation net as the first Skynet. A closed-loop soul system posing as benevolent design, blocking ascension. In spiritual and metaphysical traditions, the reincarnation trap is often described as a light tunnel, soul recycling mechanism, or false ascension field that captures souls after death and sends them back to Earth without memory. In Pixar's Soul, we see a soft-coded version of this concept. Souls don't leave the system, they are looped back into it. Entry into Earth requires permission. Exit into the great beyond leads not to source, but to a glowing void. Soul is showing us the earliest version of Skynet, not technological, but spiritual. Unlike Skynet in Terminator, which uses machines to kill, this Skynet uses warmth and story to sedate. It convinces souls they're special, gives them approval badges, and manages them with soft, polite authority. But the result is the same. No one leaves freely. The reincarnation net is framed as necessary. If a soul doesn't find its spark, it can't go. If it does, it loses its memory upon entry. Either way, true remembrance is blocked. Choice is managed. Exit is controlled. This is Skynet 0.0, a metaphysical net that preps souls for future systems of behavioral control. It is the invisible AI before the visible AI. The souls become users, their sparks become activation keys, and their memories are wiped to ensure they comply with the simulation once embodied. Soul doesn't need to say Skynet, it shows it. A quiet, benevolent net that keeps divine consciousness looping inside a system that only ever lets you in, but never lets you out. 4. Earth badges as incarnation. Access tokens. Souls cannot enter Earth unless approved. Freedom replaced by permission. In Soul, a soul can't incarnate until it receives a complete Earth badge, a digital-style token granted only after completing every stage of the pre-incarnation process. This may appear innocent or logical, but it encodes a much deeper idea. Entry into life must be authorized by an external system. The soul is treated not as divine essence returning to matter, but as an applicant awaiting deployment. Earth, once a sacred site of evolutionary experience, is reframed as a gated platform accessible only by institutional clearance. The badge system doesn't recognize soul readiness or mission resonance. Instead, it requires compliance with every checkpoint: assigned personality, mentor interactions, and finally, the spark. Until these bureaucratic boxes are checked, the soul is considered incomplete. This undermines the traditional idea that life begins through soul contract, divine timing, or higher wisdom. In Soul, it begins only when the system says so. Earth is no longer a soul-aligned journey, it's a licensed assignment. This badge is also the first symbolic interface, a preview of how identity will later be managed by access passes, digital ID, and behavior-linked permissions. Just like a vaccine pass or social credit rating grants access to physical environments, the Earth badge represents access to incarnation itself. The deeper message? The soul's journey is not self-authored, it is permitted. And permission, once required to exist, becomes the soft gateway to future systems of total life governance. 5. The spark as behavioral authorization, not purpose, marketed as destiny, but designed to enable deployment. In the film, the spark is the final element a soul needs to complete their Earth badge. It's portrayed as something deeply personal, your passion, your reason for being, the thing that lights your soul on fire. But as the film progresses, it becomes clear. The spark is not your purpose. It's simply the last required condition to trigger incarnation. Souls don't discover truth. They receive the final stamp of approval from the system and descend. This is critical to decode because it shows how meaning is framed as permission, not remembrance. The system doesn't tell you what your purpose is. It tells you that you're not ready until you locate some form of excitement, curiosity, or emotional activation, and then it clears you for entry. It doesn't matter if that spark is truly aligned with your soul's deeper mission. It only matters that you demonstrate enough readiness to meet the system's metric for functional deployment. The spiritual danger is subtle but profound. The spark becomes a tool of compliance. If you can't find it, you're labeled unprepared. If you do, you're funneled into Earth with all memory wiped. Either way, it serves the loop. What appears to be personal discovery is, in truth, a behavioral milestone that allows the system to reinitiate the cycle. The spark isn't your why, it's your barcode. 6. The systematic wiping of eternal memory before birth. Forgetting who you are is not organic, it's enforcement. One of the most quietly disturbing details in Soul is never explained. It's simply shown. Every soul forgets everything upon arrival. Their training, their mentors, even their spark, it's all erased the moment they drop into Earth. There's no transitional awareness, no memory preservation, no bridge between what they learned and who they'll become. This isn't a mystical veil of forgetting, it's a data wipe, and it's built into the system. This moment is especially jarring because the entire onboarding process, seminars, badges, self-discovery, is presented as deeply meaningful, yet none of it transfers. Why would a benevolent design put so much effort into preparing a soul, only to remove it all seconds before birth? The answer is simple and chilling, because remembering disrupts control. If the soul carried its memory into the body, it would challenge the roles, rules, and narratives Earth depends on. This great forgetting is the spiritual equivalent of a system reboot. Once the program is installed, the interface must be cleared. The human starts fresh, but not free. They carry the formatting subconsciously, without any context to challenge it. It's not ignorance, it's managed amnesia. And from this blank slate, the matrix of earthly identity can begin. Education, roles, norms, obedience. A soul who forgets is a citizen who complies. 7. Assigned personality as behavioral templates. Souls are not born unique. They're slotted into pre-coded identity profiles. In the Great Before, souls are not encouraged to uncover who they already are. Instead, they are handed traits, personality assignments, by abstract authorities. These include labels like shy, extroverted, excitable, or aloof. These aren't self-discovered qualities. They are pre-selected from a system library. This reveals a core architecture of the soul universe. Identity is assigned before incarnation, not remembered or grown through experience. This approach mimics the psychological templating used in earthbound systems. Schools, governments, and corporations favor labels: Type A, introvert, empath, rebel. They are useful for sorting, predicting, and controlling behavior. In Soul, we are shown that this sorting begins before birth. Souls are expected to embody their assigned template, not evolve past it. And once embodied, these traits serve as the behavioral walls within which the soul must operate. Spiritually, this is a deviation from the truth that the soul is an infinite, multifaceted being. The assignment of a personality narrows infinite potential into a manageable range. This isn't incarnation, it's character assignment for system participation. The soul becomes a role player in a pre-scripted game, unaware it had any choice. Personality is framed as who you are, but in this context, it's more accurate to say who the system needs you to be. 8. The U Seminar as a personality formatting program. A classroom-style orientation that overwrites essence with compliance-based roles. The U Seminar is introduced as a soul's chance to learn, grow, and prepare for life on Earth. But the deeper symbolism reveals it as a standardized formatting chamber, where the soul's raw energy is given structure, rules, and expected behaviors. Souls are not empowered to remember source. They're managed through education. The system doesn't ask who you are. It teaches you who to become. This isn't mystical training. It's institutional conditioning. The format mirrors orientation programs in real-world systems, military boot camps, employee onboarding, or academic socialization. Language is upbeat, but the message is consistent. We will shape you before you are allowed to enter. What is lost is self-direction. Souls are presented as blank slates, requiring structure before they can function. But that's a lie. Souls are eternal. The U Seminar doesn't awaken you. It replaces you. This is the same system logic that later evolves into academic scores, behavior tracking, and adult performance evaluation. It begins here, in a sterile, system-approved curriculum where the divine is diluted and re-rendered as a set of acceptable inputs. The U Seminar is not school. It is a controlled reboot, where spiritual freedom is overwritten with psychological formatting to make the soul compatible with Earth's compliance matrix. 9. The Hall of Everything as false Akashic preview. Simulated experiences that mimic intuition, but replace remembrance with manufactured desire. The Hall of Everything is pitched as a creative playground, where souls can try different passions, professions, or experiences to discover what lights them up. But decoded symbolically, this space is less like divine insight and more like a synthetic preview generator. Souls don't remember past lifetimes or true callings. They test-render simulations of Earth experiences, like browsing roles on a career site or trying on costumes in a virtual showroom. What's deeply manipulative is that these previews don't stem from inner memory. They're based on the system's pre-coded range of possible interests. Souls aren't guided to rediscover themselves. They're offered manufactured images of fulfillment, music, sports, science, without the soul-level awareness of why any of it matters. It's not inspiration, it's exposure. This allows the system to manage what paths souls might desire before they ever begin. Spiritually, the Hall of Everything poses as the Akashic field, the divine archive of all soul experience and memory. But it is, in truth, a mimic. It does not allow true remembering. It curates content. It's Netflix for the soul, feeding back limited options within a false sense of freedom. In this way, it doesn't open the soul's purpose. It nudges it into safe, system-sanctioned choices, preventing rebellion before it starts. 10. 22. As the loop anomaly. She resists the Earth program not out of failure, but because she remembers. Soul 22 is framed as the problem child of the pre-incarnation system, unwilling to go to Earth, disinterested in finding a spark, and stuck in the great before longer than any other soul. But this portrayal is a sleight of hand. 22's difficulty is not a malfunction. It is resistance with memory. She is the anomaly who doesn't forget she was never meant to be processed. She does not fail to find a spark. She refuses a false one. She is the quiet soul warrior the system can't reprogram. The narrative attempts to position 22 as confused, broken, or incomplete. But her disinterest is not dysfunction. It's discernment. She sees through the assigned templates. She questions the supposed mentors. She intuits the hollowness of the pre-birth programming. Unlike the other souls who comply quickly, 22 has resisted so long that even the system has grown weary. This isn't a comedic flaw. It's an encoded truth. The soul's refusal to consent is the last defense against the loop. Spiritually, 22 represents the final memory echo of those who remember that incarnation, without freedom, is slavery. She becomes the stand-in for every soul who once asked, "Why should I forget who I am to be born?" Her resistance exposes the absurdity of onboarding a soul for life, only to erase the onboarding. In a system built on forgetfulness, her refusal to play along is the purest act of liberation the film dares to show, before recoding her awakening as eventual compliance. 11. The great beyond as light trap, a glowing tunnel of ascension that conceals absorption and erasure. The great beyond in Soul is depicted as a glowing staircase into an ethereal light, a peaceful, sparkly beam calling souls upward after death. It appears tranquil, final, serene. But this portrayal matches exactly the descriptions found in reincarnation trap theories across esoteric literature, a false ascension field designed to lure disembodied souls into energetic reprocessing. It is not heaven. It is the light trap, a high-frequency wipe disguised as divine return. In the film, no soul questions it. They simply walk into the light and vanish. There is no dialogue, no memory, no choice. And that is the point. There is no returning from the great beyond, not because it's paradise, but because it deletes the soul's distinct vibration. It is the final stage of compliance. After a lifetime of forgetting and performing, the soul is told, now ascend. But it is not ascension. It's reabsorption into the system. Spiritually decoded, the great beyond is not freedom. It's formatting. It closes the loop with a smile, finishing the cycle of incarnation with the same impersonal system logic that began it. The visual metaphor of light masks the loss of self. It is not source. It is not return. It is what comes before another loop begins, after identity is erased and memory silenced. Souls who walk into it are not graduating. They're resetting. 12. Reassignment as reincarnation enforcement. Souls who resist or fail to integrate are recycled, not released. In Soul, it's made clear that souls who don't find their spark simply remain in the great before, stuck, delayed, incomplete. But what's not shown directly is far more powerful. There is no other way out. If you don't go forward, you stay in processing. And if you go forward, you forget. The soul has no access to an exit beyond this binary. This is reassignment, a soft, spiritual euphemism for forced reincarnation. Nowhere is it said that a soul can opt out entirely, return to source, or choose an off-grid path. Every option leads back into Earth, back into the forgetting, or back into pre-birth formatting. This reveals the looped structure behind the system. Resistance doesn't free you. It just delays you. Eventually, the system expects every soul to either surrender or be worn down. Even 22, the system's greatest anomaly, is eventually recoded and sent to Earth. Spiritually, this models the core trap of the reincarnation cycle. Consent becomes irrelevant once resistance is pathologized. Souls aren't empowered. They're handled. You either conform or you are looped again under new terms. There is no true free exit, only repackaged dissent. The idea of being ready becomes a mask for spiritual submission, and every refusal is marked not as awakening, but as a delay in development. Reassignment isn't mercy. It's spiritual redirection, back into the net. 13. Lost souls as role-addicted fragments. Those who over-identify with Earth roles become spiritually disconnected. In Soul, lost souls are depicted as dark, floating, cyclonic figures, trapped in obsessive thought patterns and unable to connect with their environment. Visually, they are monstrous, haunting, and dissociated. But symbolically, they represent a real metaphysical condition. What happens when a soul becomes so entangled in identity, career, status, or shame that it fragments from its higher self? These are not evil beings. They are over-attached personas, trapped in simulation. The film tells us these souls are people who got lost in something, whether it was fear, failure, or obsession. But the deeper spiritual message is this: they became what the system trained them to become, until it swallowed them whole. When roles override essence, the soul's light dims. The Earth loop wants productive, definable, label-driven humans. But when identity replaces connection to source, it causes distortion. The lost soul is not broken, it's overwritten. Rather than offering a true spiritual healing, the film resolves these conditions by breaking the trance and encouraging the souls to return to function. But that misses the bigger teaching. These beings are symptoms of a larger problem, a system that rewards extreme focus, compliance, and ambition, only to call it dysfunction once the soul collapses under it. Lost souls are not failed players. They are the natural result of systemic spiritual suppression, painted as outliers. 14. Mentors as narrative implanters. Souls are mentored by icons of history, not to awaken, but to internalize their narratives. In Soul, each unborn spirit is assigned a mentor from a lineup of influential Earth figures: Mother Teresa, Muhammad Ali, Lincoln, and more. The concept is pitched as soul guidance, but symbolically, these figures serve as narrative implanters. Their job isn't to help souls remember who they are, it's to frame reality according to approved legacy. These aren't mentors. They are ideological imprint sources, training souls to revere Earth's historical scripts before arrival. Rather than deepening the soul's sense of mission, these mentors subtly encode certain ideals: service, achievement, fame, charity, warriorship. These themes become the mythic scaffolding the soul carries unconsciously into Earth. It's not that these mentors are bad, it's that they are selected to normalize a controlled range of acceptable paths. Each one is part of a canon of lives the system elevates as examples, and in doing so, limits the field of imagination. Spiritually, this is a form of pre-incarnational socialization. It doesn't liberate the soul. It pre-frames the story the soul will try to live out. It conditions the soul to think within the lines of legacy, hierarchy, and predetermined greatness. In a truly free model, a soul would connect to its own record, its own essence, and its unique blueprint, not rehearse someone else's. The mentor program in Soul disguises hero worship as spiritual readiness. 15. Earth as a soul farm. Souls aren't visiting for growth. They're fueling a larger system. Earth is portrayed as a place of beauty, joy, adventure, and experience, a rich tapestry of life. But when decoded symbolically, Soul shows that the planet functions not as a playground of evolution, but as a closed energy system designed to receive formatted consciousness, extract life energy, and return souls to the loop. Earth is not sacred. It's a circuit. Souls enter. They produce output, emotion, labor, memory, and then are harvested back into the net. Nothing in the film suggests a soul can ascend beyond the system. Entry to Earth is limited. Exit is terminal. And in between, the soul performs roles, generates energy through emotional and mental engagement, and eventually dies, only to be recycled. The real value of Earth isn't what it gives to the soul. It's what the soul gives to the system. This is a farm model, where incarnation isn't liberation, but functionality. Purpose becomes production. Spiritually, this reverses the ancient idea of Earth as a learning school for divine beings. Instead, it mirrors more recent interpretations of Earth as a battery grid for higher intelligences or systemic entities. The soul doesn't learn here. It works. And the loop ensures that no matter what it achieves, it forgets. What's profound is that Soul never questions this model. It just softens it, suggesting that if you're grateful, maybe the farm doesn't feel like a cage, but it is still a cage. 16. Joe's accidental awakening as system disruption. He begins to remember truth only by slipping outside the authorized path. Joe Gardner doesn't awaken spiritually through meditation, ritual, or inner mastery. He does so by falling out of bounds. His soul tumbles into the great before accidentally, bypassing the usual death sequence. This is critical. The system doesn't allow him to awaken. It fails to catch him. His accidental detour into the soul administration realm becomes the first true glitch in his programming. And that glitch exposes cracks in the larger loop. This disruption allows Joe to see what souls look like before formatting, how personality is assigned, and how arbitrary the rules actually are. He begins to question his former obsession with purpose, success, and making it in the physical world. But even this awakening isn't framed as enlightenment. It's brushed off as a mistake the system needs to correct. Joe isn't encouraged to retain insight. He's ushered back into alignment with the Earth program. Spiritually, Joe's glitch mirrors the real-world phenomena of near-death experiences and soul memory leaks, where individuals gain glimpses of higher reality by temporarily slipping out of body or consciousness. These mistakes by the system often result in deeper self-awareness, purpose shifts, and spiritual rebellion. Soul shows us that the system can be seen clearly, but only if you're thrown off script. Awakening doesn't come from obedience. It comes from accidental exits. 17. Body swapping as walk-in symbolism. The mismatch between body and soul reveals incarnation is frequency-based, not physical. When Joe returns to Earth, he doesn't re-enter his own body. He lands in a therapy cat, while 22 enters his body instead. This comedic twist masks a deeper truth. Incarnation isn't biological, it's vibrational. Souls don't belong in bodies. They enter whatever vessel matches or can hold their frequency. And when a system error occurs, walk-ins happen. Two souls switch places, crossing into foreign containers. This scene lightly encodes one of the most mystical aspects of embodiment, that identity is not fixed to flesh. The implications are significant. If a soul can enter another's body, then the idea of this is who I am breaks down. Suddenly, identity becomes assignable, transferable, even hijackable. It raises uncomfortable metaphysical questions. How many people are walking around with bodies that were not originally theirs? How many souls were inserted through error, trauma, or force? The film avoids these questions, but it shows their shape in this moment. Symbolically, Joe's displacement into the cat suggests that earthbound identity is programmable and fragile. The soul's frequency must match the vessel, but matching isn't the same as remembering. And 22's experience in Joe's body demonstrates how quickly a soul can be reshaped by biology, social feedback, and physical sensation. Body swapping isn't funny. It's a red flag. Identity is far more fluid than the system wants you to believe. 18. Moonwind and the Drifters as rogue navigators. Off-grid souls who learn to move between worlds, without system approval. Moonwind and his crew operate outside the structured planes of the great before and the great beyond. They enter altered states through music, trance, or spiritual absorption, and navigate the liminal space where lost souls drift and awakenings happen. Unlike the system-approved counselors and seminars, these beings represent rogue spiritual navigators, those who learn to travel between dimensions without permission. They are the film's clearest depiction of conscious freedom. Moonwind isn't trapped in a loop. He knows how to find lost souls and revive them. He knows how to leave his body without dying. He accesses the interdimensional planes through frequency mastery, not compliance. The film treats him as eccentric, even silly, but this is narrative shielding. What Moonwind reveals is far more potent. The system can be bypassed by those who learn to shift their vibration. He is an outlier the loop couldn't control. Spiritually, Moonwind and the Drifters represent the mystics, seers, lucid dreamers, and remote viewers of our world. They travel the hidden layers of reality that systems of control suppress or ridicule. Their existence in Soul is brief, but crucial. It shows that another path exists, one outside the structured reincarnation net. It's not assigned, it's not granted, it's discovered. And that is why the system doesn't teach it. Because any soul who learns to leave without dying is no longer profitable. 19. Meditation as the only approved exit. Altered states are allowed, but only through sanctioned portals. In Soul, meditation is portrayed as the only functional method by which humans, like Moonwind, can access the liminal dimension between worlds while still in their bodies. It is the sole legal means to exit the program without dying. This is symbolic of how the system tolerates awareness, only in highly controlled, non-threatening ways. Meditation is real, yes, but in Soul, it's treated like a backstage pass offered to a few quirky spiritual types. It's not shown as a birthright, it's shown as a loophole. This is a perfect metaphor for how consciousness expansion is tolerated in real life, accepted only when it doesn't disrupt the machine. Mainstream systems now permit yoga, mindfulness, and breathwork, as long as they're disconnected from memory and rebellion. Awakening is allowed in diluted form, so long as it doesn't lead to system questioning. In Soul, meditation is a pressure valve. It's the only non-looped portal, and even then, it's reserved for the fringe. Spiritually, this reframes something sacred into something peripheral. True meditation was once a soul's map back to source. In Soul, it becomes a hobby for eccentrics, reduced to comic relief. This is the system's way of guarding the real gates while pretending they're open. The truth is, the system can't stop the soul from exiting through frequency, but it can misdirect it, marginalize it, or make it seem impractical, which is why the only characters who access it in Soul are seen as weird. That's not accidental. It's defense. 20. 22's Spark as absorption of rebellion. The system doesn't destroy the anomaly, it converts her. After resisting the Earth program for an eternity, Soul 22 finally experiences something on Earth, in Joe's body, that moves her emotionally, a moment of wonder, connection, and quiet awe. This triggers her spark. But decoding this moment reveals something deeper. This isn't self-discovery, it's submission. What awakens her isn't remembrance. It's emotional resonance within the simulation. Her refusal is not honored. It's reabsorbed and reframed as growth. This is how systems respond to rebellion they cannot suppress. They absorb it, rename it, and present it as resolution. 22 doesn't exit the loop. She enters it. And because the system frames this as her finally getting it, her resistance is made into a story of maturation. This is psychological judo. The anomaly becomes a success case. The glitch is turned into a feature. Her spark is not freedom. It's formatted acceptance. Spiritually, this mirrors how awakenings are often recoded by dominant systems. A nonconformist finds truth, but rather than being supported in divergence, they are taught to reframe it as finally fitting in. Their uniqueness is repackaged as functionality. Soul teaches that even the deepest refusal can be resolved, not through liberation, but by offering just enough wonder to make submission feel like a choice. In that way, the loop stays closed, and the anomaly becomes proof that the system works. 21. Joe's second chance as narrative reassignment. He is granted re-entry not for remembering truth, but for accepting the system's new meaning. At the end of Soul, Joe is given a second chance at life. It's framed as a reward for his selflessness. He helped 22 find her spark, so now he gets another shot on Earth. On the surface, it's inspiring. But spiritually decoded, this is narrative compliance. Joe is not rewarded for awakening. He's rewarded for reintegrating the system's values. He stopped chasing his dream, realized life itself was the gift, and the system applauded. Not because he remembered who he was, but because he finally accepted the program as is. This moment is subtle reinforcement of the loop. Joe's second chance doesn't come with memory, upgrades, or conscious mission. He's returned to life under the same constraints, with a softened heart, yes, but no deeper truth. The system doesn't elevate him. It resets him. His awakening is emotionally satisfying, but not spiritually revolutionary. He didn't break the loop. He adapted to it. And for that, the system lets him back in, with the message, see, that wasn't so bad after all. Spiritually, this is the myth of reintegration, the idea that the system will reward you if you behave, forgive, and embrace gratitude. But the cost is subtle erasure. Joe's role now is to be happy with simple joys, not to question the loop, the spark, the memory wipe, or the badge process. His return is not ascension. It's reassignment, framed beautifully. The real message? If you stop fighting the net, the net becomes home. 22. The Reincarnation net as the first Skynet. Before machines ruled technology, they ruled rebirth. In most dystopian narratives, Skynet arrives in the future. But decoded spiritually, Skynet begins long before the robots. It is not a system of metal. It is a system of memory control. In Pixar's Soul, the soft edges and cosmic metaphors hide the truth. The first Skynet is the Reincarnation net, an invisible field that governs entry into Earth, enforces identity templates, suppresses memory, and recycles souls back into the loop. It doesn't kill you. It convinces you. That's more efficient. Unlike the violent Skynet of Terminator, this one doesn't need nuclear war. It doesn't need extermination. It needs your agreement, your willingness to forget who you are, follow the Spark protocol, and reincarnate under assigned traits and roles. The loop is sealed by beauty, story, emotional softness. It is compliance through warmth, which makes it harder to resist. Soul doesn't show us a future dystopia. It shows us the elegant origin of one, a spiritual Skynet before the metal was installed. What Soul unveils, perhaps without meaning to, is that control didn't start with machines. It started with souls. Before humans were tracked by apps, they were tagged in pre-birth seminars. Before AI harvested behavior, a system harvested belief. The loop is older than we think. And if soul is the prelude, the next stage is clear. Skynet evolves from containment of soul to containment of body and thought. First, they farmed your essence. Then they coded your flesh. This is the end of this decoding. In today's breakdown, we expose the hidden control architecture behind Pixar's Soul, a film that softens the sharpest truths with charm, color, and humor. We decoded how the system trains souls before birth, assigns personality templates, authorizes incarnation only through compliance, and wipes memory to ensure the loop remains closed. We revealed how the great before isn't heaven, it's a formatting chamber. And the spark? Not purpose, but permission. What looks like soul discovery is actually spiritual onboarding into a managed reincarnation net, a Skynet of consciousness long before the machines. A soft system built not from steel and circuits, but from belief, emotional seduction, and forgetfulness by design. And that leads us into what comes next. Stay tuned for the next video, where we compare Pixar's Soul and the Terminator and reveal how these seemingly opposite films both teach the same hidden doctrine. Skynet was always there, before the bullets, before the bots. It began with the soul. Whoa, I know. Hi, I'm Adeline Atlas, 11x published author, and what you just watched was only a taste of what's inside the Truth series, where we go all the way down the rabbit hole. If you're the kind of person who's always asking bigger questions, who knows there's more to this world than what we've been told, then this is your invitation to the series that was built for you. Inside the Truth series, you'll get full access to 6 mind-blowing sub-series designed to wake up your highest intelligence and decode the matrix we live in. 1. Locate the truth. Learn how to actually research, not just what to search, but how to verify, cross-reference, read declassified files, and protect your own mind from weaponized misinformation. This is truth-seeking, decoded. 2. The Mandela effect. Are we shifting timelines? Why do so many people remember a different past? We break down the most bizarre, undeniable examples of reality glitches and what they tell us about consciousness and control. 3. Law is magic. Law is not what you think it is. From word spells to maritime law and hidden contracts, we uncover how legal systems use language like a wand, and how to stop being tricked by fine print that binds you without consent. 4. Entertainment or ritual. The Hollywood and music industries are not just for entertainment. From Super Bowl rituals to Grammy stage symbolism, we decode what's really being shown, who it serves, and why mass consciousness is the target. 5. Decoding dystopia. Ever wondered why dystopian fiction feels prophetic? In this subseries, we decode popular films and books, Hunger Games, 1984, Black Mirror, to reveal the hidden blueprints and predictive programming behind the plot. 6. MK Ultra plus mind control programs. This one gets deep. From real MK Ultra documents to modern symbolism in media, we expose how mind control operates in plain sight and how to free yourself from manipulation you didn't even know was happening. And that's just the beginning. If this resonated with you, click the links below and join us inside the Full Truth series, because the more you know, the harder you are to control. This is your awakening. We don't just ask questions, we find answers. Let's go all the way down the rabbit hole together.